Hey, welcome back. We are now in the fourth round of the group stage, and we got BBD going up against Jarvis. And the loser of this will not go home, but will actually be sent to the loser's bracket, so they get one more chance to stay alive. Whereas the winner moves on and fights against Brian Cook to get their spot in the winner's bracket of the Legacy Premier League. So, as you guys know, this is the last group that we have. After the group stage, we proceed into double elimination that you're probably familiar with for most esports tournaments that use this kind of format. And yeah, so it definitely helps if you get to win here. So you get another chance at like staying alive and being able to like stay in the league with one more loss. So if you can win here and then take down Bryant, that would be like really, really good for you.
And that's a huge advantage. Like, I know it's obvious to say, but sometimes you get paired up against a borderline unwinnable match. You know, like when I got paired against Julian, it was just slaughterfest. And just being in the winner's bracket insulates you against some of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that was like a weird group. Elves and 2,000 taxes. Hashtag rigged.
Hashtag rigged.
I actually looked at the crazy numbers that Mike put up in Excel, and he did some really sick black Excel magic that managed to put me into the group. But we didn't even know that back then. So anyway, matchup: Grixis control against Lance. Phil, who do you think is ahead here?
Well, as we saw in the previous match that BBD played, Loam is really, really good against a Grixis control deck that's light on basics. So I'm voting for Jarvis here. I just think that as the game goes on and on and on, that he becomes more and more and more favored.
Yeah, I think especially in the first game, unless BBD like rips out the absolute god hand, which I can't see right now, but I think it was okay. Like, you got turn 1 thought season to turn to Turok. That's probably as good as it gets in the first game. And even then, I still like Lance like as a heavy favorite, at least game 1. For the second game, we will have to look at the sideboards. But now,
I think that Jarvis has a handful of surgical extractions in his sideboard, and those are going to... Sorry, I'm trying to mess with something on stream here. I think his surgical extractions will allow him to play a much more reasonable post-sideboard game where he doesn't just get like wasteland locked out of the game.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the ways that you have to like make sure that you even just get to play the game. How you're going to win the game is a completely different story. Like, I could even see like if BBD manages to handle Punishing Fire, which is like a huge problem for his deck, then he might even just win by chasing Jarvis out. I think like once it gets to that point, it doesn't even matter how BBD wins, but once he manages to like take care of all the problems in the matchup, then he can slowly start playing the game and maybe winning. But he's got a very tough road ahead of him.
Yes, and I just pulled up the Cardboard.live extension on a different screen. He does have 3 surgical extractions for the post-sideboard games.
That's a really big top. Well, you can't really call it a top deck, but since he gambled for it. But Life from the Loam is also so important in the matchup. Like, once you get to establish your mana dominance and maybe find Wasteland off the dredges, then you can just take apart BBD very, very quickly. If he gets to chase at a certain point, or even maybe Liliana, that's going to be pretty good. But we will see how Jarvis decides to play this. He also could just make a token, since I think BBD's list isn't playing Wastelands. So he might get to a point where he just like keeps playing his lands, eventually makes a token, and maybe finds the Punishing Fire for the Baleful Strix to just get there.
Okay, so a couple interesting things have happened in that turn cycle. So Jarvis had the opportunity to just like play the naked Life from the Loam to just get it into the graveyard and start dredging, digging for a wasteland, but opted not to just port and constrain BBD's resources. And especially now that he's missed the 3rd land drop and it's obvious that he doesn't have more lands, I wouldn't be surprised to just see a couple of turns of just like draw, go, port you. And then when Jarvis gets to 4 mana, we'll see like either port and Loam or port and P-Fire at that stage.
Yeah, I think right now it really lines up the way that Jarvis is totally going to take this game. Like, he's eventually going to pass, make the token end of turn, and then untap into Punishing Fire on the Strix. And even though like BBD can make Liliana that way if he finds another land, Liliana doesn't really do much against the token if the token is produced at end of turn.
Oh no. the Merit Lodge only hit for 19 damage.
18 actually.
18. Rough. It's a hard
BBD's
life.
down to 17 anyway.
Yeah. So BBD's list actually has 2 Diabolic Edicts, so I don't think we'll just see like the turn 4 produce 2020 at end step, although I've been wrong before.
Yeah, we know that Jarvis is very deliberate. Maybe he's going to actually tap down all the black sources BBD has before making the joke at the end of turn. I remember in the GP that Jarvis won, Seattle 2015, he was super methodical about that. Like, he tapped down the opponent's green sources, wasted them, and I think even surgically extracted them. The blue sources, so he couldn't submerge his token. That was like some super deep level of gaming going on that even commentators didn't pick up on. They were thinking like Jarvis was just showboating, but he was actually like playing around submerge plus searching on dark depth. So he took forever to take a win that was like 98% sure, but he really wanted those 2 additional points of percentage, and that goes to show that which kind of player he is.
Yep. So here's just creating the 2020. Since his opponent tapped out, it's just safe for him to do so, and he can just like punishing fire away a Strix.
Yeah,
and then
and it looks like
get in the following turn for lethal.
Oh, it's interesting. I guess it doesn't matter since the Strix just doesn't kill the token because the token is indestructible anyway. So he's just going to be like, yeah, I'm just going to grind down your flyers until you can't really do anything to me anymore. Would be interesting if BBD finds the land, but Jarvis is probably just going to tap. Yeah, he's going to port him.
Crop Rot for a Wasteland. Wasteland a black source. Port the second black source during upkeep. That way a drawn edict doesn't answer Merit Lodge.
That actually sounds pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what's happening now.
So technically, no, even if he goes for the brainstorm, finds the edict, then he still can't make the land drop in time, yeah.
So in order to
BBD's
live...
probably drawing dead here.
He could brainstorm into a force of will to force the punishing fire on the Baleful Strix in order to survive a turn.
Oh, talk about playing not to lose, but I think it's the only thing you can really try to do here. That's true. Like we mentioned, the first game is going to be really rough for BBD, and it really goes to show here.
And with the brainstorm lock that's going to happen now, that should just be the end. Because like he can't get to the fourth land to just like Jace bounce the token.
Yeah, at this point, like if BBD could stack the rest of his deck, I think he still doesn't take it because of the brainstorm lock.
The problem is that like in the hypothetical world where you even do find the edict to get rid of the first Merit Lodge, like with exploration on the battlefield, just like every turn can be like cast Life from the Loam and then play stage and depths in the same turn. So he'll get to the point where he can just like literally make a 20/20 every turn for the rest of the game.
Yeah. Grixis control is very limited in the tools it actually has, like in the things it could actually do. And a deck like Lance takes full advantage of that because Lance is like so capable and has so much power going on that it just laughs at Grixis control in a way. Like BBD really hit a bad matchup here, I think, and I wonder how the sideboard is gonna like maybe turn things around for him. Like he's up against one of the arguably maybe even best Lance pilots in the world, and like BBD is no slouch. He also really knows what he's doing, but it's gonna be hard. Like this game,
I've only played against Jarvis a couple of times, and he is a terrifying player to sit down across from. I played limited against him just at a local game store in Maryland a few years back, and he was like way far ahead. I couldn't possibly win, but it was in whatever format that like Doorkeeper was legal in. So he paused for a minute or two to figure out like which line was better, kill me with mill or kill me by killing me with damage, because like there's differences in those just like minor 1% to 2% things.
Yeah, I can confirm. Like playing against Jarvis is super terrifying. I played against him in the playoffs of the LPL last season, and I felt like I didn't even have a chance. I think he crushed me 3-0. It didn't even matter what I did. And yeah, he went on to win the entire league. Interestingly, our Twitter poll showed that Jarvis was the most unlike or the least likely to win, even though that doesn't really say very much about it anyway.
But like, how do you choose this week? Like, who do you say, oh, that's the person that's going to lose? Like, this week is really stacked.
That's true. Like, this week was supposed to be our opening week until we had to push it back after, I don't even remember, was it the bannings? So, yeah, it was the bannings. So, yeah, this was supposed to be our headliner for the league. But we still, like, looking at the entire roster of the league, it's amazing how many great players we managed to assemble. And I can only look forward to the playoff stages. Like, those are going to be some crazy matches because at that point, it's all on the line, especially in the loser bracket. And right now, it looks like BBD might be headed that way. And Mike is bringing up a good point. How many matches has BBD actually won in the LPL thus far? Like, last season, didn't make it to the playoffs, but here, like, I think the sideboard might be able to turn it around for him. If he gets a Surgical off, or maybe even two, like, he's got the Snapcasters, there's ways. On the other side, Jarvis is probably very experienced in this matchup. It's one of the most common matchups for him to face. And he's also got some really good tools. For example, Choke. Like, Choke is really hard for BBD to get rid of.
Choke is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if he's running engineered explosives to, like, even potentially deal with it.
BBD does not have EE. Like, in the sideboard, he's going to have, like, surgicals and pithing needles to attack, like, the primary game plan of lands, but I don't know. All right, so like now the players you can all see it as well. So yeah. on BBD's side, like we're definitely going to see like the needles and the surgicals come in. That's just very common sense. I'm less sure how Jarvis is going to approach this. Like the chokes make a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, I think the tireless trackers might also come in. They're overall great in these grindy matchups, and they also serve as kind of protection against Diabolic Addict while also drawing cards. So I think a card like tireless tracker is really good against this mid-range control strategy that BBD has brought to the table here. And BBD is taking out the Hims. He knows that they are probably going to be no good.
Yeah, him is not good when your opponent just like keeps loaming every turn, and like you discard Punishing Fires with that as well. Oh, rats! Those are coming back later.
Yeah. Like there's so many cards here. Jarvis would even be like, yeah, sure, I'm gonna discard these two if I can just trade like for 2 mana and a card of yours. We can keep playing this game forever.
So I also like Jarvis bringing in the Crucible. Like, yes, it can be hit with Culligan's command, but it's just like another way to recur Wasteland and Friends as well as your combo pieces if your loams get surgically extracted, which is a very real possibility as these games go long.
Yeah, kind of in anticipation of Surgical maybe hitting some of his pieces. Like, you can't always prevent it, and sometimes you also do have to take the risk. And if it gets Culligan's commanded, in a way, like, Loam is a deck that benefits heavily from exploration. And if you get your Crucible out there, and you get the extra land drop, and then it's your opponent's turn, and he taps out just to remove the Crucible and probably use another mode that's barely even going to be relevant against you, and then you untap, and you, like, keep going and you increase your tempo advantage over the Grixis control deck. If that's your worst case scenario, sign me up. I will go for that any day. So Crucible seems great here.
To just kind of go off that, I think a lot of legacy decks have a critical card where if it is in your opening hand, your deck just functions so much better than under normal circumstances. So for example, in Death and Taxes, the card is Aether Vial. When your starts with that card are just absolutely nutty. And I think for lands, it's Exploration. Because when you get that just like absolutely huge tempo boost, and especially later when coupled with Life from the Loam, it's very hard to keep up with them.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's also similar with 4-color Loam. Like whenever I play against them and I sit there, I'm praying, please don't have Mox Diamond, because my matchup against them is entirely dependent on that card. If they have that card, they are very much favored. If they don't, I think I'm pretty far ahead. And it's an interesting concept. Maybe somebody should like actually explore that in an article. Like if you're out there and if you're going to pick up a good topic, or maybe Phil, you're going to write about that on the Schreiben University, which is the educational institute that you run. Where is it based actually? Is it like incorporated somewhere?
I mean, you said that I was like Trump University and that I'm a fake university. So I don't know how good of credentials I actually have.
You're probably better than Trump University, right? You will probably.
I mean, the bar's pretty low there,
approved.
Julian.
So
right, let's look at these opening hands.
But BBD brought in Blue Elemental Blast. So what is he looking to hit here? He's probably not going to try to stall out against Punching Fire.
I think when he's on the play, Blue Elemental makes a lot of sense because it hits the turn 1 gamble for life from the loam. That's my thought. Like, you don't really want to counter a Punishing Fire with that, but I think you have a lot of somewhat weak cards. So Blue Elemental Blast gives you a way to just like try to get a free one if Jarvis keeps a hand that's very reliant on gamble.
Yeah.
I guess it can also hit Molten Vortex. I think
that's the other card. But Molten Vortex could also be good against you, actually, because in combination with Loam, it will also just destroy BBD's deck. Yeah,
and I guess like Molten Vortex sitting on the board means that your Planeswalkers lose so much of their oomph. So I can see that as well.
Jarvis actually drew a really good hand here. Like, look at all this tempo that he's generating, and he's got the Tireless
That tracker is going to be really dumb with Exploration. I'm really looking forward to watching that.
If he manages to keep it alive through the Lightning Bolt, like, there's only so many things you can play around, but I think I wonder if Jarvis even expected BBD to take out the Lightning Bolts. I'm not sure.
I don't know, like, how the leveling process there works. Because like on the surface, like Bolt isn't good against lands, but if you know that like Tracker is available and like something that's 100% coming in for the post-board games, it makes sense to leave some spot removal. Like the Edicts for sure are staying. I guess Bolt goes to the face, but the pushes, those came out, I presume.
And BBD very well aware of the threat of Dark Depths and Mardlage, like playing out the preemptive Pithing Needle in the face of Exploration, because Jarvis could have otherwise gone for it already. Like on the second turn, well, that's disgusting. I'm loving it.
Lands is scary.
Lands is super scary, even in feasts on decks.
If Tabernacle wasn't so expensive and so relatively rare, I think we'd see a lot more of the deck, because I think in many metagames, like, lands is a fine choice. I don't know that it's necessarily like the best thing that you can be attacking the format with right now or anything. But the deck's very consistently not bad, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yet Jarvis didn't play that on the Pro Tour. He played, I think, Blacker at Reanimator.
And he wrote up a wonderful write-up about that. He posted.
Oh yeah, you can find that on Reddit.
100% worth your time if you're a competitive player. Ooh.
And here comes the choke hammer. Like, BBD will have to force that. There's like, I can't even see him playing the game if this choke comes down. So he has to pitch probably Blue Elemental Blast.
Yeah, and then hope to spike a land for the Jace.
Yeah, and Life from the Loam will just go to town on him.
If he doesn't hit the land for the Jace, I wonder if we'd see something weird like. Never. Oh, okay. The clue's gone now, but I was thinking like if Jarvis tapped low, we might see like K command on a clue make you discard a card or something like that.
It's interesting that Jarvis is not willing to play the Life from the Dome straight into a potential surgical. He's just gonna keep BBD down to prevent a potential chase, which could be one of the important cards in the matchup.
Like Jace sticking means that you have to go for an end step Dark Depths, and there's also a Pithing Needle on the stage right now, so like just going for it isn't an option currently. That Gurmag Angler might be good. Like it's not ready to come down just yet, but in a turn or two, like that is the first chance at real pressure that BBD has.
It's interesting that Jarvis has so many options going here right now. I think he might even go for a Wasteland just to keep BBD low on lands, because the BBD already demonstrated that right now with 2 mana he's got nothing going on. Yeah, definitely.
Then it gives you something to do with the loam. And then you can like loam a Wasteland while also porting and just kind of lock this one up. Does BBD have 2 basics in his 75? I think one island, 1 swamp. So like the bulk will be gone. The polluted delta would probably have to go and fetch an island. And then like what does he do with the rest of his hand? Deploy Gurmag Angler and pray.
Oh, and he pitches the Chase.
Wow,
Like,
keeping the
he's
bet.
basically saying, I think I'm never going to cast this chase. I'd rather hold on to the blue elemental blast. I wonder if that's actually his thought process, because I think that's really not going anywhere at all. Maybe, like, what's BBD's line? How does he get out of this at all?
So he doesn't have something like EE to get rid of those enchantments. So I think those are just there forever. So I think this is like, I need to go on the aggro plan and hope to spike an edict to get rid of a Merit Lodge.
Mono black fish.
It's able to come down.
Mono black fish aggro. What's fish in Latin? Piscis or something? Oh man, Phil is a Latin teacher. Oh, I'm so good. I still remember that stuff. Anyway, so yeah, BBD's got a burn spell and a fish going up against 19 life and like half of all the cards in Jarvis' deck if he wants to. If I was a betting man, the odds on BBD would probably be like so tempting. Like, where do you put them? Like 20-1, something like that.
Probably. Do we need our little Legacy Premier League advantage bar? Is that what we need?
Yeah, Mike, can you get that on the screen? Like, that would be amazing. Yeah, Mike just mentioned it in the chat.
So I'm like, at the same time, I'm not going to count like BBD completely out of this game yet, because like our zombie fish friend is a 4-turn clock, and like currently there's no onboard answer to it. Like, there are plenty of answers available, but like
true. Like, even like assuming BBD top decks are surgical and Jarvis whiffs on the life from the loam here, then I can see there being a scenario where BBD actually like gets back into this. So what is Jarvis looking to dredge here? Like, if he has a maze left in the deck, which I'm not sure about, then he might want to find that. Or maybe he just tries to make enough land drops to melt the Dark Depths naturally, but I think that's probably going to take a while. Is this the advantage bar?
Yes. That is
chocolate peanut butter bar. Okay.
That is exactly what we wanted. The advantage bar, folks. Perhaps Legacy Premier League's next sponsor?
Maybe they already are. They don't know yet.
Apparently.
Somebody check them on Twitter. They probably have no idea what's going on when we talk about mono black fish aggro.
So in talking about the answers that Jarvis has to this, I was doing other things and I wasn't watching like how many Krosan grips he sideboarded in for this matchup. He took a dredge with Life from the Loam rather than a natural draw step, so maybe that means that he didn't actually bring in too many of the grips. I'm not sure, because like grip on needle is a lights out play, right? That's just like totally. Grip 2020, we're done. So since he dredged,
I guess he can find Punishing Fire.
He can't recur it he can't recur it 3 times in a turn to get rid of Angler yet.
Yeah, he needs to find a second groove of the burn blows. But now he found a fetch land, so that means a cycle land, so he can cycle twice a turn at least. So he's drawing basically like up to 6 cards a turn. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, when lands goes, it goes.
Like, BBD might actually take this game.
K command.
That's just enough to take him down. Oh, wow. Like, I was giving BBD 20-1 odds. It's a good thing I'm not running a betting site. This looks really good for BBD all of a sudden.
Yeah, so like earlier, I didn't want to just call it too early, because like Gurmag Angler is a hell of a clock. Like, it's seeing so much legacy play right now because it's just awesome. Like, it's not the greatest against the Swords to Plowshares decks, obviously, but against a lot of the more fair decks that are running things like Lightning Bolt, Abrupt Decay, Punishing Fire, it's a little hard to remove.
Huh. And Jarvis just desperately dredging. He really needs to find a maze now.
Maze of Ith.
And the thing is, at a certain point, that might not even be good enough if he can't kill BBD quickly enough, because BBD still has more Lightning Bolts and potentially even Snapcaster Mages.
One bolt or one Snapcaster would pretty much do it.
Huh. PBD, I mean, that's how you become the world champion, right? You just cast your fish and attack a couple times and play a burn spells. Like the great Kai Buddha once said, play creatures, attack with creatures, and don't play any stupid spiders. And that's exactly what BBD is doing. He played a fish and he just put it in the red zone a couple times.
I don't know.
Jarvis
I've lost to some
fancy
stupid
things.
spiders before. What's that one that makes like 3 more spiders? I've lost to that in Legacy a couple of times.
Oh, that could actually be a real card, right?
I played
You
against
could-
somebody who was just like bouncing it with Caracas. That was so obnoxious.
Oh, is it Ishkana? Ishkana?
Yeah, Ishkana.
Oh, we
Somebody
should
was
make
just
this
like
recognized.
bouncing that with Caracas in like some like Nick Fit deck or something like that. Okay, so
let's
now
see
we can see what they
keeps
did.
the Red Blast.
So we can see there were 2 Croson Grips in the sideboard before, but now Jarvis has the information that BBD like is bringing in Pithing Needle, and so like he's gone up 1 more Croson Grip here.
And Jarvis actually had 2 mazes still left in the deck that could have found that would have given him the win probably, because BBD isn't running any wastelands, and he has a second needle, so technically there would have been a way for BBD, but this is gonna be rough. I think one of the reasons that BBD has the blue Elemental Blast is that like all of his other sideboard cards, they're not really all that impressive. Like Liliana isn't really doing very much against lands.
It's hard to cast. It's not the sort of thing that you want to be tapping out for in this sort of matchup. It's way better against your like control decks or your fair creature decks where like you can realistically remove threats.
For the first X turn, she's gonna do literally nothing against that deck until you get to the ultimate, which still gives lands like a couple of turns. She's really like a ticking time bomb that does nothing for 7 or 8 turns, and then she wins. It's not where you really wanna be.
All right, so looking at these openers, what do you think of Jarvis's hand here?
Jarvis's hand, I can only see half of, but like he's gonna have a second turn choke, which is gonna be pretty good. But BBD has like the best possible answer, like double Force of Will for the exploration and for the choke. Leaves
Jarvis
with
this is a YOLO
nothing.
choke hand, in my opinion.
Yeah.
This is like my plan is to slam this choke. I have a Croson Grip as a piece of interaction for some of your potential hate, and if this doesn't work as the game goes long, I'm just hoping to draw a loam. That's how I read this keep.
Yeah, you need loam, you need Gamble can help, and potentially also the Tireless Tracker is going to be a good top deck. So Jarvis has about, I would say, 11 top decks that are pretty good here, and well, it depends how quickly he will need to find them, because the fish just arrived again. The fish might take him down if he's not quick enough to find what he needs. What do you pitch here?
So I feel like the Snapcaster Mage is probably the worst card of this lot currently. I'd be inclined to pitch that, because like you can play like Strix into Strix for the next 2 turns, and then probably land an Angler. Hopefully, a turn or 2 later beyond that. It's hard to say, because like there's only 1 fetch land there, plus there's going to be 2 Force of Wills in the graveyard, so that's only 3. We're still a little ways off from the Angler, but I feel like Strix continuing to get through the deck is better than the Snapcaster when no cantrip has been cast yet.
Yeah. I also think that like the more Strix you have, the more of an insurance against like a lucky Dark Depth combo you have, because then you can actually like start racing while taking damage, by preventing damage in the air. So Jarvis would consider like sitting back with his token because he can't take the hit of the Gurmagangler, whereas Snapcaster Mage doesn't really have that kind of attribute to it. So I think what you want to put back here is maybe even Scalding Tarn into.
I think you put back
Islands.
Like you put the Scalding Tarn on bottom, so that next turn you can go bulk into Strix, and then it doesn't really matter like which the other card down is, because you're going to get it.
Caleb, hey, followers of Caleb, thanks a lot for the host. We are broadcasting the Legacy Premier League right now, which Caleb is also participating in. He's already in the winner bracket. And we got the world champion of 2016, BBD, up against the winner of GP Seattle, Jarvis Yu. They are playing in the loser bracket round 1. And the winner of that will go up against Stormmaster Brian Cook with his Black Belcher, aka the Epic Storm deck. This is the 3rd game. And it looks like oh wow, that's a big draw for Jarvis. Jarvis found the Maze of It to keep the Gurmagangler by. He doesn't know it yet, but he's gonna need it.
Okay, so I missed something obvious that occurred to me when Mike just messaged me. There's a Brainstorm on the stack, right? So when the Brainstorm resolves, there's a Brainstorm in the yard for the Snapcaster. So I understand wanting to keep a Snapcaster over a Strix there. That makes a lot of sense.
I guess another reason to keep the Snapcaster is also that it like makes Surgical an even better top deck. Because Surgical is like really potent against lands when it's like struggling a little. Oh, there's the Surgical. What are you looking to hit here? You can hit the Dark Depth, so you'll never have to worry about the token again, reducing Jarvis to just Punishing Fire, I believe, because I think we saw Jarvis take out the Molten Vortex. So if you manage to hit the Dark Depth, and I don't have the deck list right in front of me, maybe Phil, you can check that out. I think you've got the overlay open. Then Jarvis might be reduced to just Punishing Fire, which that's a tall order.
So one thing that's sort of interesting about that, though, is like, do you actually just fire it off? Because if in response there's a crop rotation, then a Dark Depths does just sit in play, and you don't have all of them?
Yeah, that's the problematic part. Oh, by the way, he can also still kill him with Tireless Tracker, which is a 3-off that's also really good against this deck. But I think you don't really want to go for that. Like, you already know that Jarvis doesn't really have anything good in hand, so the additional information you get also isn't really great. So if anything, you would probably do it on draw step, but maybe he's gonna do that. No. So
we could have seen fetch and deploy Gurmag Angler, right? That's something that could have happened. Because there's 5 cards in graveyard currently. The Scalding Tarn could have been 6.
So did we see anything he put on top for the Ponder that he really wanted to keep?
I was looking at the Cardboard.live
me too.
at the time.
So I guess we'll see when he draws here. Oh, he put the Snapcaster Mage on
okay.
top. Oh yeah, I think that's a card you really want to keep here. Yeah. So we just got the information that he kept on the Ponder, which makes a lot of sense. I think at this point, though, are you going to run out the Snapcaster and probably use the Ponder, or do you want to like double Surgically? I think at this point, I wouldn't be like... I would actually consider just randomly going for the Dark Depths proactively to get some more information. So right now, BBD is
I think playing the game with the information of Jarvis's 2 unknown cards makes for better use of the Snapcaster in later turns.
True. Because you don't even really know what Jarvis's game plan is. Like, you can probably already figure out that maybe he's got Frozen Grip in hand, because there's so many cards you can already rule out. Like, he's either got like multiple Chrome Mox or Frozen Grip, because all other lands would have, except for maybe Glacier Chasm, would have probably been played already. Maybe he would keep back Tabernacle, but I think right now BBD just really wants to start doing something and maybe put him to the test. Like, I'm going to run out the Skromag Angler and my bird is going to hit you for 1 every turn. So, until I maybe find Needle.
Okay, just trying to think through BBD's thought process. If he's not willing to fire off the Surgical yet... Oh,
he goes
never mind. But to finish my thought, if he's not willing to fire off the Surgical yet, maybe that means a respect for Punishing Fire, because with the Maze of Ith on the battlefield, the Gurmag Angler is in check. And so he needs the other threats to peck as well in order to push damage. So there might be a respect there for the way that he has to go about winning the game, rather than respect for the way that he can lose the game.
So BBD taking a good look at Jarvis's deck, figuring out, okay, what I'm actually scared of. Like, I think Wasteland is a card you also sometimes hit. Like, if the game goes long, if you get to take out Wasteland, it depends on whether there's also Ghost Quarter. Oh, another Maze.
That's a pretty solid draw. Okay, so someone in the chat asked, why not do that in the draw step? And the answer is a crop rotation. If Jarvis draws a crop rotation with the Surgical on the stack, he can put a Dark Depths into play, and then there is a future Merit Lodge that has to be dealt with at some point, many, many turns down the line.
Yeah, a crop rotation would basically completely like nullify your Surgical Extraction, because BBD is not playing Wastelands. So if a Dark Depth hits play, the only way for him to deal with it is Needle. And like right now, if he draws a Needle, he'd rather hit Maze of it. But now that he knows that there's Frozen Grip, the only way he can deal with the Frozen Grip is discard, and I think he sided out all of his discard. I guess he's got Color Guns Command, so if he goes like Color Guns Command, Flashback Color Guns Command, there's a chance, but that's already pretty far off right now at least. Oh, and he finds Loam. Jarvis finds Loam. I think Loam
Well,
Jarvis is
there's
a really good player.
loam,
He
and that's
probably already
nice.
anticipated Snapcaster Mage. You see, Jarvis asking, do you have 4 surgicals in hand? That's my take on this. Oh, and BBD already also mentions, like, yeah, exactly. I want to do it in upkeep because of the corruptation.
And I thought for sure that Snapcaster was just going to hang out for a long time and just like be another virtual copy of Surgical.
Huh. I mean, he's probably not doing it because now he gets to beat for 1. Oh, and he finds another surgical. Surgical galore.
That's disgusting.
Thing is, if BBD is like plays the Snapcaster for seemingly no really great value here, if you're Jarvis, you probably put him on another surgical. But at a certain point,
which he didn't have at the time. So that's
he didn't have at the time. Funny. But what are you even gonna do about it? Like, the only way you get to play around surgical with Loam is when you have cycle lands, and I think Jarvis only has like 2 in the deck. So there's the Shelter Thicket and the Tranquil Thicket.
Yes.
So I'm trying to like come up with the game plan. Like, what is Jarvis looking to do here? He needs some sorts of, I don't want to call it card advantage, but some engine. Basically, he needs an engine.
He needs a Punishing Fire would be a very stellar draw.
Yeah. Punishing Fire would be great, even if it eventually gets surgicals, but there's ways around that.
Honestly, it'd almost be better if his Loams got surgical than its Punishing Fires. Okay, the Thespian stage means that he can create a 3rd copy of Maze of Ith, and then we're just going to take our time here.
On BBD down to 70 minutes, but I think it won't be an issue in the end. Just mentioning it, like, we've seen people time out. It was in the Legacy Mediocre League, not in the Legacy Premier League, but it has happened. Liche, Jean-Marie Card playing Doomsday, he actually timed out with a potentially lethal Doomsday on the stack.
So for anyone not aware at home, normally on Magic Online you have 25-minute matches, but for the Legacy Premier League we're playing 40 because sometimes we have players pause while we adjust audio or other things like that. And we want you to see as much of a match as possible. We don't want people losing the timeout here. We want people to losing to silly cards like, I don't know, Grape Shot or something.
Zombie Fish. And BBD just keeps going in for 1 damage a turn. He's like, yeah, I got all of these somewhat reactive cards, and I've got the 15 turn. Oh, and he finds the cycle land. Oh, wow. And immediately Jarvis goes to use his Life from the Loam.
Oh, man.
That's exactly what he needed. And now, if he plays around the surgical with the cycle land and establishes the card advantage engine there, like BBD, he's got nothing. He gets in for 1 damage a turn, but once Jarvis gets the wasteland going, and like if he goes for Life from the Loam, he already committed to not finding an exploration anymore, which would be another great draw. But eventually, BBD is just going to run out of actual mana sources to make something happen. So he needs to find another surgical, I guess, or a Snapcaster Mage, maybe.
I also want to talk about something smart that Jarvis did that we didn't comment on yet. Surprise, there's more of them. Rather than copy the Maze of Ith to blank the power on board, he copied his Grove of the Burn Willows so that if he drew a Punishing Fire, he could Punishing Fire something, return it with Grove, and if BBD casts a Surgical, he could just Grove it back again to play around Surgical. So that was a really heads-up play.
Sweet play there. Another interesting play that Jarvis could make that probably doesn't really come up here anymore. If basically your Groves are outnumbered by their Surgicals and Snapcaster Mages, you can still cast the Surgical the Punishing Fire, then put Frozen Grip on the stack once it has resolved, and with Frozen Grip on the stack, rebuy the Punishing Fire, and BBD never gets a window to actually cast Surgical Extraction. It's like a very technical thing that's
a fun one. I like that quite a bit.
But it's like, I guess a couple of our viewers are actually here to learn something, and that's something sweet that you can do with Split Second. Split Second's a very weird thing.
It's happening.
it's coming happening. Down. And BBD is like, oh, come on. He has it. Oh, come on. Are you kidding me? But he wouldn't be BBD if he didn't. Actually, if he finds another Snapcaster next turn, it doesn't even matter. Like, Jarvis will probably already play around that by getting back the Tranquil Thicket. And never leaving home without Tranquil Thicket in hand.
Yeah, and Jarvis is just fine taking 1 damage a turn for the next 5 turns while he goes and just obliterates BBD's remaining resources.
The guy in the chat is pointing out that BBD could have also just targeted the Wasteland instead, which Jarvis could not have prevented. So that's like the more conservative play, but it doesn't stop the engine. And once Jarvis has an engine with Cycle Land plus life from the Loam, while you're only beating for 1 a turn, and you already know that he's got your best answer for the Maze of It and Frozen Grip for the Pithing Needle already lined up, I think you have to be somewhat greedy in BBD's position. If you go for the Wasteland there, it's probably not going to win you the game. It's maybe going to shift the odds slightly in your favor, but I think you really have to try to take out the Loam there.
Going for the Wasteland prevents your lands from getting obliterated in the short term, but if like Jarvis just keeps rolling over Thespian stages and he just keeps like copying Maze of Its, that's bad enough. Like once he has 3 or 4 of those on the battlefield, what are you gonna do to win?
Yeah, I think if you go for a play like that, the only way is for BBD to get some
like a
presence on the board as in a
like
Planeswalker. That. Yeah, but the problem is a Planeswalker still dies to Punishing Fire, which Jarvis will probably find because he keeps going for 6 cards a turn if he has a Cycle Land plus life from the Loam. And I don't like those odds. So BBD goes for the crap limited offense of just casting a bunch of 1/1s and 2/1s and getting in there for a bit of damage. Huh.
So, like, BBD has another Snapcaster Mage, so that is a surgical at the ready.
Yeah, so if Jarvis is careful...
He knows that there's the Tranquil Thicket as well, so there's got to be some weird jockeying for position here on BBD's end where he tries to snipe the Loam.
So one play that BBD could make if Jarvis is like low on mana, say Jarvis only has like Tiger and not enough mana to cast the Frozen Grip, and you draw a Needle, then you can Needle the Tranquil Thicket, and then like if Jarvis anticipates that, he might try to cycle the Tranquil Thicket in response, but then you can respawn Surgical the Loam. So that's like a level of mind games going on. Is he going to name the Tranquil Thicket? Is he going to name Wasteland instead? But with this much mana on Jarvis' side, I think this might not come up anytime soon. But like, it's one of the scenarios.
I think you're overthinking it a bit, right? Because if he rips a Needle, don't you just like name Maze of It and just like crash in for a billion D?
But he knows about. Oh, you mean that? Yeah. Okay. Then he gets in for 9, and he's got like 5 more points of damage in hand. Yeah, I think that's actually the better line. Sounds good.
Okay, so this is probably just going to be like the Snapcaster on the Wasteland, protect the remaining mana. And BBD does have 5 points of burn in hand. So if he pecks for 2 for a couple of turns, I guess it's an avenue of attack.
JDM, we were talking about the scenario where Jarvis doesn't have the Frozen Grip up already, with just enough mana to cast the Cycle Land. Otherwise, yeah, the Needle gets Frozen Grip immediately, and BBD knows about that. So he takes out the Wastelands, and that way he's basically saying, okay, maybe I can get you with what I have, plus any Planeswalkers and Burn Spells I draw. It's kind of funny how this Grixis control deck in this situation kind of almost sounds like in a burn deck, I want to say.
So for people not overly familiar with like the faces of Grixis control right now, there's kind of like 2 big versions of it floating around. There's BBD's version, which is very similar to ones that like other pros played at the Pro Tour, like Reed Duke's list was 1 card off from it. And then there's also Wilson Hunter's alternative build that is a little bit more aggressive with things like Blood Moon and Bitter Blossom in the main deck, and it gets to play something silly like 5 basics. And the texture of like which version of Grixis control you choose really changes how some of these late games play out.
Interesting. BBD finds Pithing Needle and Snapcaster Mage, which can represent one of the many surgical extractions he has cast this game. Is there any way for him to do this now? Like, he can cast Needle, but Needle gets killed. Like, as long as Jarvis has Frozen Grip up, Needle isn't going to do anything. He draws the counter spell.
So what is What is the counterspell trying to do?
Where he can basically time walk the loam for a turn.
That good? Like, it's certainly not unreasonable. I don't know BBD, that, like, I actively love it.
I mean, BBD keeps coming in for how much damage each turn right now? 2. And he's got 2. 5 points of damage in hand. So it's like not super unlikely that he maybe gets this. Like, obviously, Jarvis is looking to find Punishing Fire. Like, at some point, you might even like want to just counterspell a Punishing Fire, as stupid as it sounds. But like once the life totals become even closer, that can actually be a reasonable play. Especially if Jarvis is going for the fish, which he definitely will not on this kind of board.
Okay, so like let's view this in a different way. The counterspell is.
But wait, sorry to interrupt you.
Please.
Had BBD countered that loam, the Tranquil Thicket would be in the graveyard, and he could draw a Snapcaster next turn for the Search Hacker? Because like Jarvis just played loam for Tranquil Thicket and some other stuff. Maybe I was missing something, but it looked like this could have been a reasonable line. Anyway, Philip, you were about to say.
So like if we view the counterspell as shock, then in hand, like BBD has 3, 4, 5, 6, essentially like 7 points of burn, right? Coupled with doing 2 points of damage a turn, that's all of a sudden much more reasonable, right? Like I can kind of see where that's coming from.
Yeah. Huh. You know what would also be... Oh, wow. You know, if Jarvis keeps up 3 mana all the time, and you go Kolaghan's Command, end of turn, hit your Mox Diamond, untap Needle, now you only got 2 mana, you can't hit my Needle, and I get in for lethal. Depending on how Jarvis plays this, I can actually see this being a line. Because right now, Jarvis actually passed the turn with, I think, 3 mana up. And had BBD had the 3 mana, because he only had 2 mana for an end of turn Kolaghan's Command, he could have taken out the Mox Diamond.
So I actually think this game might be even closer to an end, because BBD's top card from that Ponder was a Snapcaster, right?
Yeah.
So he can go Snapcaster, target Surgical Extraction, surgically extract Frozen Grip? I thought there was a Frozen Grip in the yard. It's covered up right now, but there is, right? Yeah. So you can surgically extract that, and then play Needle.
That's a masterful line. Well, that's a masterful line, man. And I doubt, there's no way that Jarvis can really stop this. And BBD is going to the face. He knows that, like, this is actually the line he wants to take. I think this is really the line you want to take here.
Oh, man. It's happening.
Amongst all the dredging, I think he might even have perfect information here and already know that he's got this. And with all the power that Jarvis presented here and all the card draw and all the dredging, like BBD's offense, like his ragtag crew of fish and birds, like he's assembled BBD's like arc or something. He's taking 2 of each kind to the winner bracket. And he's taking out the Frozen Grip. Oh my god, this is amazing. Oh my god, I really don't want to be in Jarvis's shoes right now.
This has got to be such a gut sinking feeling. Like you look at that happening, and you've got to know that there's a pithing on the other side. Yeah,
you definitely know it. You know it so much, and the realization is sinking in for Jarvis, and he might have even like already thought about it, but knew he couldn't stop it. And Pithing Needle comes down, and BBD actually takes the match. Well, I'm super impressed. Like this is the World Champion play,
I'm so surprised. Like what a last couple of turns there. Like BBD really piloted that really well. And like seeing the heads up play, like multiple turns in advance of like potentially surgicaling the Frozen Grip.
And Jarvis is cycling, trying to find something, but I think there's nothing left in it. I guess he can find crop rotation for Glacial Chasm, but he doesn't. And wow, BBD wins the match. I'm impressed.
I did not expect that.
That was like super impressive, especially considering like I don't give this Grixis control much credit, to be honest. But that like I'm the first to admit I can totally be wrong, because to me it felt like this must be like a really bad matchup for you, and Jarvis should just run away with this. Impressive, seriously. Like I don't know what to say. I am really looking forward to seeing him go up against Brian now. I think his deck is much more like designed to deal with a deck like that. And yeah,
we'll see a lot more stack interaction in that sort of matchup, whereas most of the stuff in this matchup was just sitting on the battlefield on one side of the other.
Oh, Bethicky, thanks a lot for the follow. Oh, I keep calling it a follow. Thanks a lot for the subscription. I still have to get used to being able to, like, people being subscribers on my channel. I think we already like hit Storm 7 or 8 now on the subscribers. Storm 5. Okay, so I told you if we had Storm 10 on this stream, then Brian is gonna have a turn 1 kill. And we get another subscriber. We got 117. Storm 6 now. We can do it. Are we gonna see a turn 1 kill today?
I mean, you've got a lot of subs now. They're gonna be looking forward to that emote.
Oh yeah, the emotes is gonna be out next week. I'm pretty sure like I'm gonna hit partner. I'm gonna stream tomorrow, and that should be like the last required stream to hit partner, unless they don't approve me because for some reason they don't like me. I don't know. And then we're gonna have sweet emotes. We're definitely gonna have the Krotov Behemoth that goes like this. So if you're like in the Elves Discord, that's like a meme there already. It's amazing. And I think once you hit partner, I feel you recently hit partner like on your channel, right?
Yes. So I submitted my application. And I'm waiting for approval. I submitted it last Wednesday, so any time now I should hear about that.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. Am I subscribed to you yet? I was subscribed to you, but I think I need to resubscribe.
Yeah, I should probably sub to you as well. You know.
We will see.
See how that goes.
Yeah. Oh, Cody taking the subscriber